Hello. Let's start there. Let's start with a greeting, a simple hello, and then let's move right into the most exciting news, the most wonderful news. As you may remember, a few weeks ago, along with the beginning of a vicious war against us by tiny people from a tiny underground city, Carlos, the beautiful scientist, finally returned my expressions of affection. And not in that dry science way he always used to use, saying things like, "I'm not calling for personal reasons. I need to tell your radio audience about a strange hole that might appear in their wall." Oh yeah, I forgot. There's a strange hole that might appear in your wall. He said it was important to tell you, especially after what happened in the Smithwick house. I forgot. That was a while back, so I guess it doesn't matter much now. But yesterday, when he called me, he started his call by saying, "I am calling for personal reasons. Also, my calculations show a strange source of energy approaching the town, but not emanating the kind of light that such a source should." Isn't that so sweet? And well, one thing led to another. And last night, we went out on our first date. I just have to tell you about it. I have certain obligations, though, so first, let's get to the news. All right, news done. So, now let's talk about the date. Carlos and I met up in Old Town. I was wearing my best tunic and furry pants, and he had on a laid-back weekend lab coat. We were both beautiful in the late afternoon sunlight. Each other's dreams met in a real-world moment. Our destination was none other than Gino's Italian dining experience and grill and bar, the fanciest restaurant in town. It was a perfect day, other than the strange blot of darkness buzzing on the edge of town. But that was probably yet another Applebee's under construction. We went arm in arm into Gino's and were immediately seated, with no memory of who greeted us at the door or how we got to our table, situated in a classy, understated, and absolutely doorless room. The full Gino's experience. Their menu is somewhat limited after the ban on wheat and wheat byproducts, so we each ordered a single portobello mushroom, served rare and bloody, as is the Gino's way. From the window, we had a great view of the sunset, and of the buzzing shadow thing, which seemed to have moved closer. "I've been thinking," Carlos said. "Uh-huh," I said. "Yeah, that's what I've been doing lately," he said. "Thinking. It's part of being a scientist. What have you been up to?" And so we talked. Just us and our bleeding mushrooms, and the buzzing shadow presence, and a blooming haze of romance in the air. Wait. Hold on. Station management is apparently getting agitated, flailing around their office and howling, so I need to do some more news real quick. All right, boring stuff done. Back to the date. We wrapped up dinner at Gino's with a slice of their special, invisible, non-corporeal, and tasteless carrot cake, which was as light as air and resembled air in all other qualities as well. Our waiter, formerly a heavy-set man with a large mustache, was now a buzzing shadow man defined only by the absence of light in the vague shape of a torso and limbs. Presumably, our former waiter was on break. We asked for the check, and then made our escape from the doorless room by breaking the window using the brick our waiter had provided for that purpose. Carlos and I, oh, the magic of that phrase, oh, the ecstasy of all that a simple conjunction can imply, took a stroll through Mission Grove Park. It was just us and the trees and the crowd of our fellow citizens who were all doing the usual recreational activity of pointing at the sky and shouting in terror. I asked Carlos if he wanted to join in for a round, but he said he had already been scared of all that the empty sky implies yesterday, and so was pretty tired. If you want, he said, we could do some tests on the trees. I've been meaning to do some scientific tests on the trees. They seem normal, but given all that I've observed in this town, it is a significant chance that they are not. Well, of course, I could not pass up the opportunity to perform real science side by side with my Carlos. And so we approached the nearest tree, an old sagging thing, and began to perform tests, the nature and purpose of which I am not remotely qualified to describe. Meanwhile, our fellow park-goers had ceased screaming and had taken up being strange, buzzing shadow beings. All of them were standing exactly where they had been, but were now defined only by the absence of light in the vague shape of a torso and limbs. I stroked Carlos's cheek. I don't know if he noticed. He said the tests were inconclusive, and also was perfect in face and form. You are organic, to be sure, listener. Be proud of who you are. Speaking of pride, speaking of beauty, more from my date soon. But first, the weather. Let's get right back into it, shall we? After the park, I drove him back to his lab, next to Big Rico's Pizza. The drive was difficult, because at this point it seemed that everyone in town but the two of us had hopped onto the buzzing shadow entity train and were loping around town as malevolent holes in our reality, emanating an energy that made the hairs on your arms stand and your bowels vibrate. Or maybe that was just the chemistry with Carlos I was feeling. A woman ran at our car screaming, a few of the shadow people chasing her, but before I could even touch the brake, she must have changed her mind because she had already turned into a shadow person herself. It's like, run from the shadow people or become one. Make up your mind, lady. We arrived outside of Big Rico's, and there was that awkward moment at the end of every date, where you pause outside of the person's door, and it's like, should I call the city council and submit the standard end-of-date report, or are you going to? Also, I was wondering if he was going to invite me into his lab to look at all those beakers and humming electrical equipment. Well, he said, pointing to his lab, this is me. Uh-huh, I said. I should probably do something about this buzzing shadow thing, he said. A few experiments to see if I can save the town. Oh? I said. Do you need any help with that? No, he said. A scientist is self-reliant. It's the first thing a scientist is. Oh, I said again, but softer, sadder. Which is when he leaned forward and kissed me. Just once. Just gently. Just before slipping out of the car and into the lab. I'll tell you, listeners, I was almost swallowed by a cloud of malevolent shadow energy on the drive home, and I hardly even noticed. I was so happy. I guess Carlos managed to find a way to defeat the shadow energy, as everything seems normal today. A couple neighborhoods are emptied out, sure, with books and food and televisions left where they had been at the time of the sudden vanishing, a tableau of a life that never again will be. But it wouldn't really be a weekend without that happening somewhere, right? Night Vale, my sweet and only Night Vale, may you find love. May you find it wherever it's been hidden. May you find who has been hiding it and exact revenge upon them. As the old song goes, love is all you need to destroy your enemies. Finer words were never chanted. Stay tuned next for Efficiency Hour with our own productivity expert, a reversed voice underscored by hypnotic pulses. And with all the love in my loving heart, and with a loving voice in a loving and terrifying world, good night, Night Vale. Good night. It has come to our attention that some Night Vale residents are getting off the trains transformed. Mayor Pamela Winchell described these commuters as thinner somehow, spiritually, like you think it's the afternoon, but it's almost evening. That's what they're like. Carlos, caring and reliable Carlos the scientist, thinks maybe the writer's DNA has been washed out, emptied, completely drained of its contents. Listeners, I'm also being told that some people are not getting off the trains at all. Listeners, I just received word from Carlos, lovely Carlos, with his perfect teeth and hair and penchant for sometimes chewing a little more loudly than is preferred. Carlos, who is with other scientists at the Desert Creek housing development. For the past year, Carlos has been studying a house that does not exist. It seems like it exists, like it's just right there when you look at it. And it's between two other identical houses, so it would make more sense for it to be there than not. But it does not exist. Carlos said the scientists asked him to come over and ring the doorbell just to see what would happen. They offered him $5, but he turned it down, saying something about scientific integrity and blah blah blah. But I'm like, $5 is a taco lunch at Jerry's Tacos, so whatever, rich guy. Carlos said that before he could take a step to the house, a woman emerged from the side door talking on her cell phone. He and the scientists ran up to the woman, calling out to her as she walked quickly away from the house. She looked panicked. No, not panicked. concerned. She looked concerned, Carlos said. She kept talking on her cell phone, never responding to them. Carlos said she kept walking until she walked right through them, right through the scientists, like she were a cold wind. And then she stopped talking into her phone, stared back toward the house, and with a look of panic, no, with a look of concern, ran away. Carlos said, and this is very strange, Carlos said it sounded like the person she was talking to was you, Cecil.
As I exited the house, the door shut behind me and now it's gone. As I walked, I moved through something that wasn't there. I heard voices through digital static and felt a cold wind across my body. The others are here, but not here, Cecil. What or whom did I just walk through?
So instead, what I want to say is, I am thankful Dana is out of the dog park. I am thankful I had my first conversation with her since Poetry Week. I am thankful Carlos did not ring that doorbell. I am thankful that people listen to this show and the stories about our wonderful little community, the most scientifically interesting community in America, as my Carlos once said. And of course, I am thankful for you, Night Vale. And now back to our regular programming. Aha! We have some sharp listeners. Several of you noted that the strangeness of today does not end with the blinking light up on the mountain, or the mountain itself, but also this vast, muddy plain it rises from. So yes, we are now reporting that there is a great floodplain strewn with bones around our city. Its wet patches glint slightly when the blinking light is illuminated. At night, when all distance is darkness, it appears that the universe itself is glimmering red, and then gone. Red, and then gone. The mud ripples under the footsteps of the approaching masked army, and this warps the reflections in interesting ways. Carlos says he would like to study it, but that he promised to make a certain person dinner, and he has to learn how to put other things besides science first. Some of this realization might have come with help from those around him. Carlos finally took a look at the situation. The blinking light up on the mountain, and all that came with it. Horrific invading army, etc. "Oh, that?" he said, gesturing with a spatula he had until moments before been using to cook. "That's a mirage. I've seen that one before. When you get the clouds in a certain way and the temperature is where it's at, you can sometimes get this blinking light mountain floodplain masked army mirage. Wow, this is a pretty strong one. It should disappear in an hour or two." Listeners, we received word from Old Woman Josie that 6 yellow helicopters are circling her home at this moment. She also said that she's receiving no sunlight. She says all of her clocks tell her it's the middle of the day, but that she is receiving no sunlight. And yes, I'm looking at our own station clocks, including the wristwatch Carlos gave me for our 1-month anniversary. The watch, he said, is the one true timepiece in all of Night Vale, and it is, indeed, the middle of the day. There was a long pause, and then she said, "We never go bowling anymore, Cecil. Why is that?" "I don't know," I reflected. "There has been a tiny underground army living under the bowling alley, and they've declared war on all of us. They injured my new boyfriend. Also, I have a new boyfriend." Carlos, perfectly imperfect Carlos, is the only one feeling industrious today. He's mowing the lawn and whistling, and the lawn is whistling back. Carlos has vacuumed his living room and is now organizing his closets. He's holding up items and making decisions. He is humming. The grass cannot hum, and so is silent. The earth is slowing. Gravity is slacking off. My mic is floating. Carlos is also floating, and he's taking this opportunity to clean out the gutter on his roof. How industrious. How... I don't really have the energy to think of another word. Carlos, meanwhile, says he's had a busy day and might take a nap now. That sounds nice. Listeners, I think now is the time at which I must say goodbye. There's a place here in Night Vale, a place I'd like to be just now. Maybe my lazy day isn't quite done after all. I go now to find myself, or to find who has myself, or to find someone that might make me feel better about what has happened today. I'd take that last one, honestly. I'd take that honest last one. You know, listeners, I've been thinking about John Peters' orange grove. I did a little digging online and found that orange trees are not native to deserts. I also emailed my boyfriend Carlos about this. He's a scientist, which kind of makes me a scientist too. Here's Carlos's email back to me just now. "Cecil, I'll do my best to answer your questions. But do know that I don't specialize in botany or dendrology. I am a scientist. I study science, not plants or nature. I did drive out past John's farm a month ago, and there wasn't a single tree, just acres and acres of rocky, cracked, flat ground. There's no way he could have grown anything natural on that land, let alone a bountiful orange grove, especially in just a few weeks. As far as your other question goes, let's stay home tonight. We ate out last night. Plus, there's a new documentary about scatterplot matrices on Netflix I've been wanting to see. Also, The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance is on TBS again. We could rewatch that. I'll make pasta if you can pick up some, etc., etc., etc. Carlos goes on about weekend bowling plans. You know what? You don't need all this. Okay, I think that's all he had about the orange trees. I do hope we watch Liberty Valance, though. I love that film. Wait, I just got another email from Carlos, marked urgent. He says, "Cecil, just talked to my team of scientists who have been investigating the house that doesn't exist. The one in the Desert Creek housing development that looks like it exists, like it's right there when you look at it, and it's between two other identical houses, so it would make more sense for it to be there than not. That one. They still have not gotten up the courage to go inside the house, but they did peek in the window and they saw John Peters. You know, the farmer. They saw John sitting in a chair in an empty room staring at a picture on the wall. They could not see what was in the picture, but John was sitting quietly, staring at it, not moving. They called his name. They tried dialing his phone, but he did not respond. They even knocked on the door. Nothing. Whoever this John Peters is, selling oranges and orange juice, is not the John Peters we know. Also, I take it back. I think we should go out to eat tonight. I tried to go to the store, but they're completely out of pasta, tomatoes, herbs, scissors, fire, everything. Well, now that is... Listeners, someone is pounding on the studio door, despite the brightly lit, on-air, do not disturb sign we always put out. Dear listeners, John Peters just came to visit. I should talk with him. Maybe this is a good time for us to go to the No! Wait! Stop! John! John! No! Listeners. Listeners. What a fretful few moments we just had. John Peters, you know, the imposter. He burst into our studio and tried forcing me to eat an orange. I attempted to reason with him, attempted to talk about our old bowling league and the wood shop class he used to teach. But John did not acknowledge any of these fond memories. As a last resort, with the orange nearing my face and my back pressing hard against the sharp edge of my broadcast table, I grabbed my phone to tell Carlos that if I didn't make it home tonight, it wasn't because I didn't love him or didn't want to watch a documentary on special scientific graphs or was too obsessed with my job to relax and enjoy a good meal and some television. It was only because I was zapped out of existence by a lunatic non-John Peters. And that, in fact, I do love Carlos, and I would want nothing more than to watch a documentary on scientific graphs over some homemade linguine, or to go out to eat again, or whatever. But then, as I grabbed my phone, I thought, that's way too long to write for a text. So I just hit John Peters upside the head with it, knocking him unconscious. Oh, Carlos texted. No pasta, but there's leftover falafel and an unopened bag of nutmeg seeds to snack on. XOXO. And then there's an emoji of two dinosaurs chasing an early 80s Ford Mustang up a palmetto-lined suburban street as some residents look on, shocked and scared, a few laughing, others undisturbed as they mow their lawns or sculpt their fruit-shaped topiary bushes. Oh, man. Oh, that's very cute. Listeners, let me release my own special announcement. Cecil Palmer would like to not be late for dinner. Listeners, please know that I really do think things are looking up. I'm really excited about the new direction we're under with Lauren.
Well, I can't wait to be more involved. And I just love your show. I've loved every moment of it. I love your informative reports. I love your beautiful voice. I love the way you talk about the town. You clearly love your city, Cecil. It shows in your work. I even love your scientist boyfriend. What's his name again? With his perfect hair and teeth like a military cemetery. He's always looking into the scientific mysteries of Night Vale. He even broke the story, as you reporters might say, about the trans-dimensional oranges our farmers had developed. Well, that sure was a good thing he was looking into our oranges, or we could have harmed a lot of people on our way to making a ton of money. So very much money. What's a few lives? So much money! He's a good scientist you have there. What's his name again?
Carlos?
Right. That's right. Carlos. Okay. Good talking to you. Gotta go. Bye.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you, Lauren. Goodbye.
Well, it seems that just about half the town of Night Vale is lined up outside of the condo rental office, which is located in the abandoned gas station on Oxford Street. Everyone is there. Janice Rio, from down the street, who was practically hopping up and down with excitement over owning a new condo, whatever a condo is, whatever it looks like. Leanne Hart, publishing editor of the Night Vale Daily Journal, who was holding a bloodied hatchet in case she came across any bloggers or online journalists who might threaten her grip on the printed word. Carlos the scientist. Carlos the scientist. He was there, wearing a business casual lab coat and analyzing those around him with complicated devices he couldn't explain without eventually just shaking his head and muttering, "Nah, science." I don't know if I've ever mentioned it on this show, by the way, but Carlos is totally my boyfriend. I just didn't know if I had brought that up before. He's very handsome and into science. And he is learning to be better about calling when he needs to cancel dates to get some experiments done. All right. I know this is out of nowhere, but at what point in a relationship is it normal to think about living together? Is, let's say, buying a condo a sign that you want to move to that stage? Is that what an action like that might hypothetically be indicating? But do you know what I mean? Like, could this be a sign that he wants to move things in that direction? You know, I just wish he would communicate more directly sometimes, but scientists don't communicate directly. Everybody knows that. They communicate using a series of obscure and arcane codes and signals. That is what is meant to be a scientist. I'm sorry, listeners. I'm going to have to get this. Hello?
Cecil?
Carlos?
Yes. Scientifically speaking, that is who I am.
Yeah, I've been meaning to tell you, you sound different lately.
Yeah, I put in new vocal cords recently.
No, I didn't know you went in for surgery.
No, I'm a scientist. I put them in myself. Easy. It's important that a scientist update his or her vocal cords once in a while. Otherwise, throat spiders.
Oh, no, I knew that. I mean, obviously I knew that. I'm very into science. But hey, listen, I'm in the middle of a show.
Yeah, I know. You're covering the story about the condos. That's why I called.
Well, I didn't know you listened to my show.
Every time you're on.
Okay, hold on, listeners. I'll be right with you. So, those condos, right? They're very exciting, right?
Everything is exciting, particularly existence. Existence is the most thrilling fact of all.
Right. So are you doing okay? I'm getting reports that it's even more fatal outside than usual.
By 19 standard fatality units, I know I have a danger meter in front of me. Listen, Cecil, I called to talk with you about something important, but now I don't think I have time.
But time
isn't real, I know. Neither is anything else. That is the most scientific fact of all, but they're calling my name and I don't want to lose my place in line. This is important because I have to go. I'm sorry. I'll call you back later, probably. everything is some level of probably, nothing is a promise. It is most likely we'll survive to talk again.
No,
Hey,
I
listen,
understand. Oh, sorry. No, you go.
They're calling my name. I'll call back when I can. Goodbye.
Oh, okay. Goodbye. I'm sorry, listeners. Yeah, where was I? Carlos has hauled out his science equipment, of course, and is testing the cubes. The cubes emit a low level of radiation and some sort of strange pulsing energy. The energy would be difficult to describe in scientific terms, but if he had to give it a language, he would probably use the scientific terms pulsing and strange. Now, you mentioned the condos. Let me ask you, what do you think it means when Carlos says he's looking at condos? I mean, did he mean that he wanted us both to look at condos together? Or was he communicating independence? Like, you stay here, I'm going off to look at condos alone.
Beware the condos, Cecil.
I mean, do you think he's just looking to buy one for himself? Is that what you're saying?
Beware the unraveling of all things.
Or is he looking for a shared condo? Hello? Hello? Hey, listen, I'm just a little distracted. Can I ask you sort of a relationship question?
No, you barely sentient sack of flesh and fluid! Sorry there, Cecil, buddy, but we just don't have the time right now.
Hello?
Hello, Cecil. Are you there?
Carlos, hi. Yes, I'm on the air. I'm still doing the show.
Right. No, I know. It's just, I got a condo. A condo for us. I was thinking that maybe
No,
we
wait. For us? That we could?
But it wasn't what I thought it would be. It was a giant black cube. Featureless. Where the vacant lot behind the Ralphs used to be. I touched it, and I saw endless rows of Erlenmeyer flasks, and every one held a liquid, and all of the liquids were bubbling. And before each one was a notebook of numbers, and above was a dial with more numbers. I saw all of this, and I understood.
You touched the condo. Don't touch the condo. Don't touch it again. You know what? Hold on. I'll be right there.
I need to get to those flasks. Each liquid was bubbling. There were numbers. I'm going into the condo. The condo is perfect. It is perfect, and I understand.
Carlos, no. Don't go in there. Carlos? Hello? I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Listen, I'll be back really soon. I'll be back as soon as I can. But before I go, let me take you now to the weather.
Hello again, listeners. Cecil is still gone. I guess it's just you and me now. You have no idea how often it is just you and me. Cecil should be back soon. I know you are hoping that he is safe and that the scientist is safe. I know. I'm watching them right now, even as I speak to you. But I won't tell you what's happening. This is because I am also slightly malicious. Sorry about that.
Look, I'm sorry, listeners. I'm back. I'm really sorry for... By the time I got there, Carlos was floating in the cube. And there was that sign, a perfect kind of human, a perfect kind of life. Well, I didn't hesitate. I jumped into that black cube after him. And instantly, I saw great distances. I saw... Jagged mountains. I saw a dark planet lit by no sun. I saw shrouded figures standing on a beach in a circle, gently swaying into each other against the backdrop of a roiling, bottomless ocean. I saw all of this, and I understood. I understood that the cubes are perfect. I understood that this is how we become perfect. I understood that what I was seeing was the way to perfection. And I don't know how I understood this. Thinking about it now, nothing about it seems good, let alone perfect. But inside the cube, within its chambers, it all made sense. And I understood. And there was a moment. There was a moment, dear listeners, where I considered it. I considered joining Carlos and becoming perfect. But I've come to know something after these months together with dear Carlos. Perfection? It isn't real. Perfection isn't human. And Carlos is not perfect. No. Even better, he is imperfect. Everything about him and us and all of this it's imperfect. And those imperfections in our reality are the seams and the cracks into which our outsized love can seep and pool. And sometimes we are annoyed and disappointed. And that too is a part of how love works. It's not a perfect system, but oh well. And so I resisted. I fought off the vision of the shrouded figures and the dark planet and all that was perfect, and I held close to imperfection, to my imperfection, and to my imperfect Carlos. And I took him, and I carried him out of that cube, and we came up heaving into this world that will disappoint us. Finally, free. And he said, well, actually, I recorded the whole conversation. Of course, because I'm never without my microphone. He said,
Cecil, I was thinking about the series of ongoing actions that we perceive as the present, and the amassing of memories that we treat as a living record of the past, and the hopes and dreams and assumptions that we project as the future. I was thinking about time, and about how it means something to so many people, and about how it's so finite, and also so infinite. I was also thinking about space, about how it is nothing, and then a point which is just a single spot within the nothing, and a line which separates the nothing into two nothings, and how a plane is a patch of nothing and an angle just where two nothings meet. But all of those things combined with an object of points, lines, planes, and angles, an object with length and width and depth that can take up actual space, and how that object becomes something made of nothing within nothing. An object can be a wall, a floor, a roof, a bed, a table, a dog, a door, a rug, a home. And then I thought about how a home is just a group of objects connected by a shared personal experience of time, our past, our present, our assumed future. A home is, scientifically speaking from the point of view of mere facts and logic and, what with science and all, I just thought it was time for us to make a home together.
And I said yes! Yes! That would be neat! But somewhere else, okay? A duplex or an apartment. I don't think a condo. And he said,
No, not a condo.
And then he said, listen, he thinks that I shouldn't tell you everything, that I should leave something that only belongs to us. So,
here is where I leave you. Not to walk away. I think I will avoid walking for a while, but certainly to go somewhere, to see someone. And I don't know. If he suggests a walk, I might change my mind. He can be as persuasive as hypnotic malfunctioning city equipment sometimes, as the old saying goes. We've received an update from Carlos and his team of scientists about the house that doesn't exist. The one in the Desert Creek development. It looks like it exists, like it's right there when you look at it, and it's between two other identical houses, so it would make more sense for it to be there than not. But it doesn't actually exist. The scientists have been carefully monitoring John Peters, the farmer, who has been standing alone in the house for weeks. The house is completely empty except some photographs on the wall. Each one seems to be of a lighthouse. The scientists, long too scared to open the door, finally got the nerve to go up to the house and try. It was locked. They shook the handle, hard at first, violently at second, pounding and yelling at third. And those observing John from the window saw no change in his behavior. The door slammed open, and a woman answered, "What do you want?" she shouted at the scientists. "We wanted to see what that man was doing in there?" one of them meekly replied. "What man?" the woman said. "I live alone." And looking in from the front door, they could see a room of the same shape and size as the one John Peters, the farmer, had been standing in. The room was full of chairs and a couch and plants, and a table and photographs, but none of lighthouses. Most of faces similar in form to the woman's at the door. The scientists who were at the window could see John standing in the empty room looking at lighthouses. The woman said her name was Cynthia, and she'd lived there for 19 years. The scientists left her alone, returning quietly to the lab. Carlos added that the Desert Creek housing development was only 3 years old. Ow! Ow! Carlos is allergic to cats, but I bought him some Claritin, so he'll be fine while Koshek heals. We're getting more updates about those doors. In fact, I have a very important scientist on the phone right now. He's at the very top of his field, a really handsome scientist.
Stop.
Hi, Carlos. So, you said you saw these new doors.
Yes, I'm here with my research team at the house that does not exist in the Desert Creek housing development. The one that looks like it's there but isn't there. Our previous attempts to understand the home were futile. From the windows it looks completely empty, but when you try to go inside, there's a fully furnished home and a woman named Cynthia living there. But today, all of the composite fiberglass doors on the house suddenly changed. They're now all old oak doors with brass knobs, and when we opened one, we finally saw the empty house that we've been seeing through the windows. If you go inside the home through these new doors, you can explore the house that does not exist, but you cannot return unless someone is on the other side of the door you went through. One of our scientists, Rochelle, went through and couldn't get back out. We only thought she was inside for about 45 minutes, but when we opened the door back up, she ran out saying she'd been trapped for several hours. She was sweating and starving, and she ate every one of the kolaches Dave made for us. So now we just need to do more experiments. We have to be careful because time is weird in Night Vale. But I'm going to do a bit of exploring in this house and get back to you and your listeners about what is going on here.
Carlos, do be careful.
I'll be fine, Cecil. I have a team of 5 talented scientists with me. They will be here to check on my progress and keep me from getting trapped. Without them, of course, it would be much more dangerous. But I am not without them. Not at all.
Well, you're very brave.
Thanks, Cecil.
We're going to get to the bottom of this door story for you, listeners, because we have science on our side.
And your producer Daniel tells me that just a few days ago we arrested a group of 5 people in lab coats who had been loitering about and trespassing on Cynthia Cabrera's house in the Desert Creek development.
How scary. Well, that is good news.
Yes, great news. Or almost great. There is one scientist we expected to find there, and we did not find him. He has such perfect hair. Think of what would happen if he had agreed to add that perfect hair and those perfect teeth into our resources. It just makes you want to spit. I'm sorry. Such a vulgar word. Let me try that again. It just makes you want to not smile. To not smile hard at all when people work against productivity that way. Oh well, we'll find him soon enough.
And I'll be honest, I don't know exactly where Carlos is. They captured his scientists, but they did not capture him. I'm sure he is fine. A scientist is always fine.
And then they bring these ugly scientists to study things that should not be studied.
Luckily, he's trapped in the same desert otherworld as intern Dana.
Plus, I found someone here in the desert.
Hi, Cecil. I am manifesting myself in your radio station for both personal and not personal reasons.
Carlos! Oh, thank the imperfect heavens. I haven't seen you in weeks. I didn't know where you had gone.
So, when I entered the house that does not exist, I found myself in this other desert world. But something happened to my team of scientists, and there was no one to let me back out. Then I couldn't even find the door. Eventually, your friend Dana found me.
Now, Carlos, why did you not call? Or Snapchat? Or reblog any of my wood carvings of Koshek? I worked really hard on those.
Cecil, how would I do that? I'm in the middle of a desert that is not of this world.
Oh.
There's no cell towers or Wi-Fi or any kind of communication system. Plus, I have to save my battery until I can find my way back to...
Oh, no, your phone totally works here.
Really?
Yeah. Also, I haven't charged my phone in like a year. The battery never ran down.
Oh. Is that a Samsung?
No. No, same one you got.
Oh. Wow.
And the Wi-Fi is pretty decent too. Just
Oh, look at that. Cecil, I'm on your Tumblr right now. And I gotta say, the artwork is amazing.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, time is pretty messed up, so sometimes you reply to emails before they're even sent to you, but other than that...
Now, Carlos, how do I get you home? Dana, how do we get Carlos home? I would like Carlos to come home.
I'll be able to very soon. I am working on inventing something right now.
Cecil, every time the doors are open, it lets that terrible light into Night Vale. And the light is so close now, we can't risk it.
Right. You're very smart. Cecil, you have very smart interns.
I know.
So, I'm building a highly scientific device to keep the light away from the doors. Now, the device looks a lot like a big umbrella, okay? But it is way more complex and scientific than that for reasons I do not have time to explain right now. My danger meter is in the red, and scientifically speaking, red is the most dangerous color.
Carlos, you're fading. Dana, where did Carlos go?
He's still here.
Dana, I can't see Cecil anymore.
He's still here. Carlos, thank you. I may get to see my mother and my brother again because of you. You are a hero.
I'm not a hero. I'm a scientist.
Well, then scientist will always be my word for hero.
What is he saying? I can't...
We should go. Tell Cecil we won't be long at all. The door should be safe to open now. I just need to finish stabilizing the device.
Cecil, we have work to do, but we will be home soon.
Okay, I cannot wait to see both of you.
Like an hour or two max.
Did he say something? Was it cute?
Goodbye, Cecil.
Okay. It is good to know we have such a talented former intern and a brilliant scientist working together.
Cecil, now Dana and your science fella, they helped us get out of that other desert place. I'm the one who found all those old oak doors, and Maureen here figured out that physically going back and forth between the two worlds was possible, but those two, they helped a bunch.
Well, great work, all of you. Listeners, there is someone knocking on my station door, which must mean Carlos. Carlos, is that you? Come in and welcome home my sweet cart. No. No, 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 no. No.
But really, I was thinking about what your boyfriend Carlos said.
Don't you dare, Steve Carlsberg.
So, he said,
I'm certain I can stop the light from entering Night Vale. I have a simple device that will protect us.
I am not dating a munchkin from The Wizard of Oz. That's not, no.
You sure?
I'm quite sure.
All right. Fair enough, but look, he's, and no offense, Cecil, but he's an outsider. He's not from here. How do we know he's not part of the super underground secret military government that is testing missiles?
Steve Carlsberg, did you just accuse my boyfriend of being a secret operative?
Well, yeah.
Because that'd be pretty cool, actually.
It's dangerous.
That'd be awesome.
It's dangerous awesome.
But it is, nevertheless, it is not true, Steve. Hi, you've reached the voicemail of Cecil Palmer. I'm off doing some important journalistic work. Or maybe just petting Koshek. But either way, leave me a message.
Cecil, hey, it's Carlos. I hate that I got your voicemail, but listen, I figured it out. So we can't shut the oak doors unless everyone is back where they belong. And every moment those doors are open, more of that light gets through into Night Vale. I couldn't figure out why we couldn't just keep the doors closed for good. And it was really frustrating to have a problem I couldn't solve. And then I got sad because I couldn't solve it. But then I did solve it, and I felt so happy. So those are some, but not all, of the emotions that I had. Here is what I found. Night Vale is a place that is difficult to leave and difficult to enter. And connecting a place as weird as that with a place as weird as this was causing a lot of strain on linear time and space. So those native to Night Vale, Dana, John, the angry woman in the intern shirt, all had to return home. And the masked army all had to come back here, which they did. Just moments ago, the last of them came back through the door. It is so exciting when you make a scientific discovery like that. I was very happy. But then, as the last of the masked army members came through the door, it slammed shut and vanished. And I remembered that I am not from Night Vale. I remembered that, as far as the laws of the universe are concerned, it is not where I belong. Cecil, I don't even remember how I got to Night Vale in the first place. I mean, where is Night Vale even? But I promise I will find a way back. It'll just take a couple of days, a week max. I'll be fine. I'm a scientist. Cecil, a scientist is usually fine. Maybe a few weeks, I don't know. The upside is Dana was right. I have had 97% battery all day and decent reception. So we'll at least get to talk every night. Best of luck at home. I love you.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It looks like I have a voicemail from Carlos. He must have called during the weather. I apologize, listeners. I have to check this. So, stay tuned next for more of us and more of me until that inevitable distant point where I and this and everything must end. And as always, good night. Night Vale. Good night.